What's up, guys? Higgins in Japan here with another edition of the Friday video. The Friday video is the video that I make right here in my car on the way home from work on a Friday. And as you can tell, it is a rainy Friday. And that's still not going to stop me from going home. Why would that wouldn't be a thing. Yeah, so I'm headed home. I'm actually very tired, but I've got some running around to do this afternoon, despite the rain. Gotta get a package in the mail at some point today, so that way I can return some stuff that I bought that I need to return. But yeah, that being said, it's another Friday. It's another drive home from work. And last week I talked about if you're a teacher in Japan, you should know your role. Not really like in the rude sense of like Attitude Era 1990s wrestling, know your role. Yeah, I think it's important. If you haven't seen that video, or actually heard that video, because you can't actually see it because the video quality was very terrible. It was really, I don't know, for some reason the video quality was very bouncy, and it might be again today. We'll see how things go. But yeah, so basically last week talked about like knowing what your role is as an ALT, and I think it's important to kind of reiterate a little bit on that again. It's just to like knowing where you kind of fit in at your school. And it's been for me, it's been an interesting experience, because you kind of work at the same school I've worked at the same school for the past 3 years, and so you get to know people, you get to know what teachers are like in the classroom, you get to know what teachers are like in the teacher's office when you're talking to them. You kind of figure out, oh, this person wants me to be this type of teacher in the classroom. This person just wants to use me as like a glorified tape recorder, which I understand. And so we haven't had classes in 2 months, so I haven't been able to learn how all these new teachers want to do things. And so it's been interesting for me trying to figure out kind of how I fit in at these new schools, and what type of role they want me to play, because sometimes when I started out, the very first school that I was at, I only had one school. It was an elementary school, and there were like 90 students in the entire school. I only had classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I didn't do anything. I just sat in the teacher's office. And the school that I was at, because it was out in the country, they did a lot of agricultural stuff, and they did a lot of stuff in the community. And so they knew my work schedule, obviously, because I was there. And so, on certain days, if I didn't have anything going on, I would, go bag rice at some random farm, or I would chop firewood for some, cooking thing that we were going to be doing outdoors the next day or the next week or whatever it may be. They always tried to keep me involved, or keep me like from being too bored, right? Because you're sitting there, you can only plan so many lessons. You can only plan, so many classes, which I did. I planned out my entire school year in about the first week I was there. So, yeah. But, yeah, it was different because that school was so small, but I could, I only had the elementary school, and I taught everything myself. So I planned the lessons, I made the materials, if I needed flashcards, I made the flashcards. If I needed handouts, I made handouts. If I needed, something to print up and blow up on the big screen on the TV, like that was all me. And the teachers would be in the classroom, and they were literally just there for like crowd control. Flash forward to now, where I have an elementary school and a junior high, and while I do team teach with another teacher at the elementary school, with the exception of first and second grade, she plans all of the lessons. So for first and second grade, I do the lessons, and I teach the classes, and she actually is not even in the classes with me. But fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, those are her lessons. Well, I mean, obviously, she's going off using teaching material and books and lesson plans and whatnot, but she's the one that's planning the lessons, and I'm very much the assistant, the ALT, the assistant language teacher, like I was talking about last week. Sometimes you're very much just the assistant, and so it's something that you either have to get used to really quick or go back home. I mean, I don't mean to be that direct about it, but if you have these ideas that you're going to run the classroom in a situation like this, it's not going to happen because you're the assistant language teacher. You're not a real teacher. Despite the fact that I work for the city, I'm still considered a part-time employee, so I'm not a full-time teacher whatsoever. I'm not the one that's making the decisions on the important stuff, right? So, another story, same town. I had actually moved from that town, and they were actually looking to hire, direct hire ALTs, and I went in and interviewed for the job, and they got passed over by somebody that was seemingly more qualified. They lasted 2 weeks and went back to Canada. They were from Canada. Whereas that was 6 years ago, and I'm still here in Japan. Because the person thought that they were coming to Japan to be an English teacher, which you say, well, I'm an ALT, I'm an English teacher. You think, oh, that means I'm going to get my own classroom and my own students and my own curriculum, and I'm going to do this and that, and you get all these big, great ideas in your head. Heck, I literally had no idea what it was going to be like teaching in Japan. And I went through a whole week-long process of training with a dispatch company that was supposed to be what it was like teaching in Japan, and then it wasn't anything like that at all. So I can understand how people can look at what it's like to be an ALT and not understand your job position. But yeah, so this person moved to Japan, interviewed, moved to Japan, got this job where I wanted to work and where I, wanted to live, and after 2 weeks quit and went back to their old job, and because they thought that they were going to get their own classroom and be the English teacher at the school, when in reality you're an assistant, and unless you're certified through the Japanese system, the school system, not like a certification from your home country or anything like that, none of that matters. If you're not certified in Japan, you are not an actual teacher, you are the assistant. And so, yeah, they had the idea that they were going to be doing something more than what they were. And I can't really blame them as much as I would want to be like, oh, they took my job. At the end of the day, I didn't. I got a much better job and a much better position in a better city, so that's fine. But yeah, like I said, I applied to be an ALT through a dispatch company, got hired, went through training, and still had no idea what it was going to be like teaching in Japan. I thought, I'm going to go to the school and I'm going to have a classroom, and I don't know. I don't know if I thought that I was going to have students, or if I thought it was going to be a situation where the kids came to me for their English lesson, but like, manage your expectations, I guess. As an ALT, you don't have the freedom to do a lot of things that you think you might, and the school is going to treat you like a part-time employee, which is fine with me, because I don't need to go to meetings that have absolutely nothing to do with me. I don't need to sit through PTA meetings that have zero to do with me. Here's a fun fact. If anything has to do with you, they will directly tell you. I've gotten to the point now where I tell teachers, because you'll get a teacher that makes a memo for something and passes it out and puts it on everybody's desk. I don't need it, because if it has to do with me, they'll tell me it has to do with me. I don't need a memo about what was the one the other day? It was literally something that was going out to the parents. It was one of those things that, like, hey, here's the letter that we sent out to the parents. I don't need that. That has nothing to do with me. I'm a part-time English teacher. Like, save a tree. I don't need that stuff. And so that's what I tell them. Don't give me this. I'll just say, no, I'm good, thanks. And they've gotten to the point where they just don't leave that stuff on my desk anymore, which is perfect, because I don't need to be in the know. The only time I need to be in the know is if it has to do with me. And if it doesn't have to do with me, then it's like I said, I'm not going to sit through meetings that have zero to do with the English. And if they do, they'll tell me. They'll leave a note on my desk and say, hey, we're going to do this. Or someone will stop me in the hallway and say, hey, we're going to do this. And I'll go, great, thanks for letting me know. But I don't need mountains of paperwork and endless notes about PTA meetings and things that don't involve me. So there's that. Hopefully these videos give people insight into what it's like being an ALT, what to expect, kind of the things that you'll go through on a day-to-day basis. That's kind of what this channel has morphed into over the past few years. And if you know anybody that is interested in being a teacher, or has questions about what it's like, share this video with them. Let them know that, hey, if you have any questions, I'll more than willing to answer questions about my experience. Obviously, my experience is, I always say, this is different than anybody else's, and so, your experience, you might come to Japan and have a totally different experience, but that's fine. Like, you got somebody that that wants to be a teacher in Japan, send them my way, and I'll be sure to try to help them out as best I can. I've been doing this for a long time. This is my 9th year in Japan. I've been teaching a little bit longer than that, but this is my 9th year in Japan, and so, not that I'm some expert on English teaching in Japan, but just trying to share my experiences with you guys. And so that's gonna do it. I'm gonna finish driving home, and then gonna head to the post office, hopefully before they close, because they got new Corona hours. I'll catch you guys in another video, hopefully one where I'm not too tired. I had 5 classes today, so I'm a little tired, but have a good one, guys. Peace.